Now, in other news, the search for answers in the tragic Oak Bay murder-suicide resumed today after nearly 2 years. The inquest into why Peter Lee stabbed his wife, his son, and his in-laws before killing himself ended abruptly in May of last year over a legal fight between Crown lawyers and the coroner. 19 months later, memories are faded, but there's still hope a jury can find recommendations to prevent such a tragedy from happening again. A News reporter Shachi Curl joins us now with more. Shachi?
Eric, this first day back saw one of BC's top prosecutors on the stand, but more than 2 years after the murders, he says it's still not time to make changes to the justice system in BC, not yet. And he says more money won't necessarily fix things. 19 months is time enough to forget the terrible details of September 4th, 2007. The inquest resumed by laying them out all over again. Peter Lee killed his whole family in a vicious stabbing frenzy that lasted all of 2 minutes. Jurors were reminded how Lee, having allegedly attempted to kill his wife once before, was free to break into the family home at 310 King George Terrace that fateful night, in part because Crown lawyers didn't oppose granting him bail. The inquest originally derailed over this issue. Coroner Jeff Dolan wanted to hear from the 2 Crown lawyers who made that fateful decision. The Crown argued it would infringe on their independence. Both sides fought all the way to the BC Court of Appeal. In the end, the coroner lost.
You can tell by the fact that we went as far as the Court of Appeal that we felt that that evidence was very important. However, it's protected by legal privilege and we're not going to hear it.
To that end, inquest lawyer John Orr first questioned Associate Deputy Attorney General Robert Gillen. Orr asked Gillen what had changed at his ministry in the 2.5 years since the killings in Oak Bay. The answer? Essentially nothing. The Attorney General's ministry is instead choosing to wait until at least next year to act on the recommendations of this inquest's jury, on recommendations contained in a report presented by Children and Youth Representative Mary-Ellen Turpel Lafond, and on other assessments of what went wrong. It's not like we've been sitting on the sidelines, Gillen said, before adding, we could all go out and do something, but if it's not a systematic approach, it could create as many problems as it solves. Orr pressed him further. Would a specialized domestic violence court help prevent more killings? Specialization requires more resources, Gillen said. There's no point trying to pretend we can afford a Cadillac system when we're lucky to get a used Ford. Responses that enraged domestic violence advocates.
I don't understand the lack of motivation. I think the problem is that there is just simply no leadership around this.
Gillen said 2 solutions include assessing a suspect's risk of violence before bail decisions are made, and in some cases, putting the onus on the accused to prove why he should be allowed out of jail rather than leaving it to the Crown to prove why he should stay in. Those are fixes that would require changes to the federal criminal code.
Amendments to the criminal code are difficult to get done.
So, one of the government's top prosecutors leaves the stand, saying better coordination and better communication is needed. But we won't see systems implementing that anytime soon. Now, Eric, Robert Gillen did point to some projects that are underway in Duncan and one that was happening in Port Alberni within the justice system as examples of action the BC government and the Ministry of the Attorney General is taking. But these aren't permanent changes, and in one case the project has ended. Tomorrow we expect to hear from the Victoria Police Department about any changes they may have brought in order to prevent something like this from happening again.
Shachi Curl reporting. Shachi, thank you.
You're welcome.